Today, our BC Racing coilovers have finally come in and we will be installing them on our 740i. Alright, today on Tenza Motorsports, we're going to be unboxing this, going over all the parts, and then I actually have a challenge for myself that we'll be doing while we install these coilovers onto the 7 Series. So these coilovers are a perfect example of a buy once, cry once item. This is a phrase that I use oftentimes when I'm buying performance parts. Instead of spending the $650 to $750 to just buy OEM stock replacement ones that later on you might be replacing because they weren't enough for what you wanted, we're going to spend just a little bit more money, get the ones that we wanted in the first place. So we're going to be opening these up. I'll show everybody what is inside the box, and then we will be getting on to our install, and I will be talking more about the challenge. Okay, inside this box is another box, and then we have some instructions here. Looks like we've got some stickers. So just the usual for most components like this. So right off the bat, you can see here we have brand new end links. You're gonna need these. Make sure that the suspension you get comes with these. If it doesn't, it can be very difficult to figure out what size you need because this is not the OEM size. So you'll wanna look into that anytime you're doing suspension. Most of the time they come with them because they know that it's not gonna use the factory sized end links. After that, we have our spanner wrenches and our little Allen wrench adjusters. These are pretty nice. And then we have the coil itself. This is one of the rear coils. You can tell because there's no camber adjustments on these plates. The front will have camber adjustments, the rear will not. So like I mentioned, the fronts will have our camber adjustments here, and then you can also see that this doesn't have a permanent adjustment on it like this one does. These are those removable ones that came in that bag, and so when you want to adjust the front ones, you'll actually have to just pop the hood and then spin it. You can adjust how hard or soft it is. Alright, so I've set out a little challenge for me today. This, obviously, I wouldn't recommend anybody else do this, but I'm going to try to put these on as quickly as I can. Now, again, don't do this unless you really know what you're doing, but I have done multiple suspensions on the E38 platform. So I have done a total of 4 of them, and actually at one point I was pulling suspension off of this car onto another car and then putting new suspension on this car, and I did it really quickly. So I'm going to time myself today to see how fast I can actually do this 7 Series. I've never done a 7 Series before, but I think it'd just be kind of fun to see how that goes. There really isn't too much to these. You've got a bolt at the bottom, your end link, and then your 3 bolts up top. So I have my little timer here. I'm thinking I can do this suspension in around 45 minutes. So that's gonna be my goal today, is to get this done in 45 minutes. So one thing I wanna do before I start actually replacing these is I'm gonna make sure they're all the same. As you can probably guess, there's no way for me to tell what these will do or feel like on the car based on the adjustments out here. But I'm gonna get them all the same, and if they just happen to be at the right ride height or the right adjustments, then I won't have to worry about them, because it's obviously easier to work on them out here before you put them on the car. So let's get these all adjusted, make sure everything's the same, and then we'll throw them on the car. All right, I'm gonna start with the back because the back's probably gonna be the most difficult. If you can see here, straight up puts the top of this suspension component right behind these seats. So I actually have to take the bottom of the seats and the backrests off, and then take off a trim panel on the inside to get at these original struts, and then we'll just go from there. But I think the back will probably be the hardest, so I'm gonna try to knock this out first, and I'm gonna start my timer as soon as I get the tools over here and start to pull this apart. Okay, we're at 17 minutes and I have the back disassembled. I'm not sure how well this 45-minute suspension change is gonna go, but This has been a lot more difficult than any E46 because no E46 you do this. The worst thing you do in the back is take out carpet. So I did in fact get all this pulled apart. Now I did have to rip this, and I'll show everyone where this goes. I did have to rip this, but once I'm done, I should be able to just set it back in there. The top of the OEM strut goes here, and here is what the top of it looks like. So there's the original one. We'll get this one loosened from up here, and then we'll jack up the car and get the bottom of them taken out. All right, well, I failed. I spent 45 minutes and 46 seconds putting on the rear of the car. It's all put back together except the interior. Now that sounds like a lot of work, which it's a lot of time. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to put this back together until I go and drive the car. The actual adjustments for the top of the coilover can't be accessed with all this put in. So until I go and take the car for a drive, I don't want to go put it all back together. So we've got the rear end done. I'm gonna go do the front. The front should be a lot easier and should be very similar to my E46, which is the other suspension components that I've replaced in the past. This is not difficult by any means, it's just a lot of time. And like I said before, I have not done a 7 Series, and I'm in this one 45 minutes so far. So let's get the front done, and we'll see how much lower this sits. This already sits pretty low, and this is about the same ride height as the coils came in the package. I just made sure that they were both the same, and then we'll just go from there. I don't know if BC actually has like a setting on them or they just ship them out, but I just made sure that they were the same on both sides. And as you can see here, it's quite low, but it doesn't bounce anymore, which is great because before it would rock like crazy, and now it's feeling like some proper sports suspension. So let's go get the front done. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to take the car out in this video, but I do want to document taking the car out and feeling how much different it feels versus the 23-year-old suspension it had on there before. Well, there you have it. The car has been lowered, and I'm assuming the suspension is going to be a lot stiffer and better feeling on the road, a little bit safer feeling. And I'm pretty excited to go and take it for a spin. I'll be doing that on another day so I can go through and actually tune the suspension and get it to ride properly. As for the front struts, it actually took me about the same, maybe a little bit longer to do the front than the rear because there was so much on the hub assembly that by the time you dropped everything down, I was trying to get the strut off. The strut was so long that things that were attached to the hub assembly wouldn't let it go down any further. And I didn't have any spring compressors, so I kind of had to work around it. So I disconnected a couple things off of the hub assembly. Once those were disconnected, I was able to get the strut completely off. And after I figured out the one side, the other side was a lot easier because I knew what I was doing. So successful install. So far, I'm very happy with it. Just being around the car and pushing on it and stuff like that, I can already tell this is gonna be way better than the suspension that was creeping up on 23 years old. Even though those cars got low mileage, the age will take things like your suspension out. So you gotta be careful when you buy a really old car. There's things on the car that probably need to be replaced, even though you might have found one with low miles. And I think probably one of the biggest things tonight that took me so much longer was the fact that I was doing this by myself. Obviously, most projects are better with a buddy and a little less boring. So if you have a buddy available, this is a great project to have somebody come and help you out so that you're not having to muscle all this around all by yourself. So thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed today's content, consider leaving me a like, share with all your friends, leave any comments or questions down in the comment section below, and until next time, we will see you in the next video.